The United Kingdom has set a clear waypoint for its future anti-submarine warfare posture. The first of the Royal Navy's new Type 26 frigates will enter service in 2028, with the remainder of the 8-ship class following across the next several years. That target matters less as a calendar entry than as an inflection point. It announces when the Navy expects to begin exchanging lessons learned from 3 decades of operating Type 23 frigates for a platform conceived from the outset for the modern acoustic battle space, quieter adversary submarines, denser maritime traffic, and the spread of uncrewed systems above and below the surface. The result will not be a like-for-like swap, but a rebaselining of how Britain hunts submarines and supports allies across the North Atlantic. At its core, the City class is a study in discipline specialization. The hull, around 150 meters and close to 8,000 tons, offers generous volume for machinery isolation, rafted equipment, and extensive damping, features that serve a single purpose: keep self-noise so low that the ship's towed array can do its job. That quietness is paired with a combined diesel-electric and gas turbine propulsion arrangement that allows high-speed sprints when required, but more importantly, almost silent patrol speeds during prolonged search. A modern bow sonar and a low-frequency towed array form a complementary sensor pair to interrogate deep water and complex shelf regions alike, while a 3D radar and contemporary combat management system tie the ship into a broader maritime picture rather than treating it as a lone hunter. Firepower on Type 26 reflects a philosophy of growth and layered defense rather than maximalism on day one. The Mk-41 vertical launch system supplies the flexibility to host future land attack and anti-ship missiles when policy and budgets align, while the in-service Ceptor creates a defensive bubble against air threats with minimal acoustic penalty thanks to soft launch canisters. A 5-inch gun covers constabulary and naval gunfire tasks and, at the inner edge, a close-in weapon system provides last-ditch protection. Yet it is the flight deck and hangar that arguably decide the ship's reach. Embarked Merlin helicopters, complemented by Wildcats when mission demands, extend sonar coverage and bring lightweight torpedoes to bear where the surface combatant cannot go. Uncrewed vehicles, supported by a mission bay engineered for modularity, add the ability to push sensors forward, sweep routes, and perform dull, dirty, or dangerous jobs without risking a crewed asset. The decision to field 8 such frigates between 2028 and the mid-2030s aligns with a distinct strategic geography. The North Atlantic, particularly the Greenland-Iceland-UK gap, remains NATO's acoustic choke point. Submarines transiting from northern waters to the wider Atlantic must thread this region, and the alliance's ability to detect, classify, and if necessary trail those boats shapes the credibility of reinforcement plans to Europe. Type 26 will spend much of its life working these routes, either as part of carrier or amphibious screens or independently sanitizing approaches and choke points. The Joint Expeditionary Force, the UK-led grouping of Nordic and Baltic partners, will also benefit. The frigates are sized and equipped to slot into multinational task groups without bespoke integration every time they sail. Industrial policy sits behind the technical story. Building at BAE Systems yards on the Clyde preserves shipbuilding competencies that take decades to mature and months to lose. The production drumbeat, HMS Glasgow and HMS Cardiff fitting out, HMS Belfast advancing, and the follow-on ships Birmingham, Sheffield, Newcastle and others moving through early stages, anchors a supply chain spanning everything from propulsion gearboxes to composite radomes. It is also a hedge against cost volatility. Stable cadence lowers unit risk, helps retain specialized labor, and smooths the funding curve that often derails naval programs. The dividend is more than economic. A steady delivery profile allows the Royal Navy to plan trials windows, train crews, and transition tactics in step with hulls arriving at the pier, rather than lurching between decommissioning and commissioning spikes. One of the most consequential aspects of the design lies outside the UK. Type 26 is the parent architecture for Australia's Hunter class and Canada's Canadian surface combatant, while Norway is adopting a derivative for its next frigate. Shared DNA across 3 Commonwealth navies and a close NATO partner does not automatically guarantee interoperability, but it meaningfully reduces friction. Common combat system interfaces, similar training pipelines, and overlapping logistics chains improve coalition readiness. In practice, a British frigate can exchange tracks, tactics, and spare parts more readily with Canadian or Australian cousins, shrinking the time from crisis to coherent maritime response. This multinational buy-in also exerts a disciplining pressure on upgrades. When one navy fields a software or sensor refresh, others have an incentive, and a tested pathway, to adopt it, avoiding the divergence that has plagued earlier, common, programs. There are risks. The promise of modularity, especially in the mission bay, can become a temptation to defer hard choices about payloads in the hope that future kits will solve today's problems. The Mk-41 cells are only as relevant as the weapons they host, and decisions on the future cruise/anti-ship weapon, the successor to Harpoon and Storm Shadow in British service, will need to land crisply to avoid capability gaps in long-range strike. Integration workloads for new effectors are non-trivial and compete with the day-to-day business of getting first-of-class trials completed on time. Crew generation is another pressure point. Acoustic warfare expertise is acquired through sea time and mentorship, neither of which can be accelerated indefinitely. As Type 23s retire, keeping enough instructors at sea on the new hulls will determine how quickly the Navy unlocks the full potential of its modern sensors and software. Budgetary context is equally important. Large surface combatants live for decades and repay investment when their digital backbones can absorb change. Type 26 has been designed with margin in power, cooling, and space to accept new algorithms, transmitters, and uncrewed control nodes. Exploiting that margin demands consistent, if unspectacular, through-life funding rather than feast-and-famine cycles. The payoff is compounding. Smarter signal processing squeezes more performance from the same array, an upgraded data link gives allies a sharper picture sooner, and an improved electronic warfare suite nudges the survivability curve upward without touching the hull. For NATO, the class arrives as undersea competition intensifies. Adversary submarines are quieter, their cruise missiles longer-ranged, and their doctrine more opportunistic. Littoral zones cluttered by wind farms, offshore platforms, and coastal shipping confound traditional acoustic assumptions. The answer is not a single exquisite platform, but a network in which quiet frigates serve as mobile sensor shooters, helicopters and uncrewed vehicles extend reach, and allies share tracks with minimal latency. Type 26 is built for that networked reality. It can contribute to sea denial around a carrier strike group 1 month and work with patrol aircraft and seabed sensors to secure sea lines of communication the next, switching roles through software and embarked modules rather than wholesale refits. By the time the 8th hull commissions, Britain's ASW fleet will look and sound different. The acoustics will be cleaner, the data flows richer, and the options board more varied. Yet the underlying mission will feel familiar to Cold War veterans: keep the ocean's quietest predators away from convoys, carriers, and coastal approaches. The difference is in how that mission will be executed: more distributed, more software-defined, and more allied by design. Setting 2028 as the start line provides the Navy, industry, and partners a firm horizon against which to align training, integration, and investment. If delivery meets the promise, the City class will not just replace the Type 23s, it will reframe Britain's contribution to the shadow war under the waves for a generation.